What up, guys? The Bench Buddies are back with MLB power rankings for Week 14. Of course, we got the Yankees at number one, but we have some teams moving in the top five, a lot in the top 10, and especially in between those middle grounds. So make sure you guys stay to find out where your favorite team is ranking. But before we get into the video, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Get us to 500 subscribers. We'll be doing that huge giveaway as well. Maybe one at 250 if you guys hurry up this process as well. But as always, comment below what you guys think of my power rankings. We'll go from there. But let's jump into it here. At 30, we have the Nationals dropping to the worst team in baseball. They caught up to the A's in the most amount of wins or losses. They have one more win than the A's, but it really doesn't matter at this point. They're 1-10 in their last 11. Terrible in pitching. Soto not having his best year, but the on base and home runs are on pace. But average wise, he's just not getting it done right now. And I think Nelson Cruz, Josh Bell, those are some things to look out for at the deadline that the Nats could be moving. 29th, we have those Oakland A's moving up a spot. And this, just due to, I think they spent too much time at the bottom. I think it was time for change. Frankie Montas, he'll be probably traded here in the next couple of weeks after the All-Star break. But he's missing his start just for a cortisone shot. Give some relief to his arm. He should be good to go for this weekend. And they are the worst hitting team in MLB, which, they got off to that decent start. We're moving up to 20. But after that, it just kind of free fall down here, and they've been in the bottom three for a while. 28th, we have the Cincinnati Reds moving up one as well. In terms of ERA, they're the worst team in baseball with a 5.29. That's what they're averaging a game. Not the best if you're trying to win games, especially with this team that, they can hit pretty well, but, sometimes they just fall flat on their feet and score one run a game, maybe that. So that's why they're down here. But they did sweep Tampa Bay at home 3-0, which was very surprising. And they won one of those games on a balk of the pitcher. It's a terrible way to lose, but hey, Reds were on the winning side, so it helped them. And they get rewarded with 6 tough games this week, 3 in New York and 3 in St. Louis before the All-Star break. 27th, we have the Royals. Give them an extra victory there as they beat the Tigers earlier in the day today. The young core, they're starting to look better, especially Melendez, Bobby Witt Jr., Olivares, and Pascal, I think it's how you say, Pascal or something like that. He's been really good as well at first base, hitting his 2 home runs off Pineda for the Tigers. But Benintendi, will he be dealt the deadline? Probably. Suitor would be the Yankees. This is exactly what they're needing. A great outfielder come in there. So he could be there. Salvi, he's out 6 more weeks after his thumb surgery a few weeks ago. And they have 8 games this week, 4 at home against Detroit, and then they finish up 4 on the road against Toronto. 26th, we have the Chicago Cubs staying pat. Wilson Contreras, he's more than likely dealt, but he really loves it in Chicago, so it could be no sign to come. Maybe he'll resign in the offseason. Stroman, could he be dealt if he actually stays healthy here? He's finally getting all healthy now. If he can stay healthy, he will more than likely be dealt for low value, but, it's better than nothing. Kyle Hendricks, he's going on IL with a shoulder strain. He hasn't been himself this year, really struggling with his, earned run average. He lives to about 5, so not like his usual self. And now they have a 4-game losing streak thanks to the Dodgers, and they are going against really hot teams right now this week, 2 against Baltimore and 4 against the Mets. 25th, we have the Los Angeles Angels dropping all the way down here. They're 14-36 in their last 50, and that's the worst 50-game stretch in this millennium for those Angels. And so, that just kind of speaks how these last few months have been going for them. They got Trout and Ohtani, so they're putting a good product out there for those guys, make them want to come out and see them. But after that, it's just kind of a lost cause right now. This team had so much promise. I had them at second at one point this year, and they're all the way down here. So this probably will be the first team, that'll be top 5 to bottom 3, possibly, but at least bottom 5, top 5, bottom 5 in our power rankings history. And they did get swept by Baltimore, who's on an insanely hot streak, and they also have 5 tough games, but they're all at home. So I think they could, maybe steal a few against Houston and the Dodgers. 24th, we have the Pirates moving up 1. Now they stole that series in Milwaukee, won that one 2-1. But other than that, this team is very exciting, but they're bad to watch. I mean, O'Neal Cruz, he's going to be really good in the future from what we've seen so far. Once he figures it out a lot. But, there's nothing really cooking here. Surprisingly enough, they were floating around 500 for a little bit, but they're starting to fade. They're all on the road this week to close it out before the All-Star break. 23rd, we got my Tigers moving up 1. We give them an extra loss there, as they should be at 50 now if they lost today during the day. They're kings of the IL still. Austin Meadows got shut down in rehab. So he's going to be more than likely they're shooting for all-star break return. Riley Green, they're 12-10 now since he got called up. So they've been playing some good baseball, and at least competitive baseball as well. They ended their 6-game win streak on Saturday against the White Sox. Now they're on a 3-game losing streak, possibly 4, depending on how tonight's game goes. Miggy ended his 13-game hit streak, and he enters play tonight with a 295 average. And, Javi, you can't not mention it last week, pretty much chirping the South Side fans of Chicago. I love to see it. Bring some intense energy. You gotta fire a team up somehow. And especially, the White Sox, old rivalry, don't like the White Sox, and just get them booing at you, be the villain. Sometimes it's okay. But the Tigers have 7 more games this week, 3 against Kansas City and 4 on the road in Cleveland. 22, we got the Diamondbacks. They're bottom 10 in both hitting and pitching. That's why they're here. The NL West, though, is slowing this team down as a lot of teams are good and they're just fighting for it. But Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly, they've been a really good 1-2 punch, and that's where they struggle. After that is what are they going to get out of their 3, 4, 5 guys? And, that's kind of why they're down here is that, you need at least 3, 4 guys to really contend in today's MLB. But Ketel Marte, he's hitting better after hitting 146 at the end of April. He's now hitting 266 on the year. So, huge jumping points. I really think he could boost that up to 300 if he keeps hitting how he is on. He's on pace for it for sure. But they close out with 6 divisional games all on the road. Rangers dropping down to 21st, and that's just 3 to 3-7 in the last 10. Martin Perez, if that's a name to be floated out there, if they decide to be sellers at the deadline, which I do believe they will be, they're middle in the pack in every stat. Mitch Garver got announced today that he's out for the year in a torn flexor tendon, so that's a big loss for their catcher position. John Heim, he's really going to have to step in a lot more now and be that lead catcher. But they have 7 games at home this week before they close it out. 20th, we have the Rockies moving up, and this wasn't really just because of their really good, wins last week. They did go 4-2, beat the Dodgers in Arizona at home, but just those teams kind of just meh, I guess. And the Rockies are got Chris Bryant back. He had a big week, and I think that just rewards him here in my eyes. They do have a really good hitting team, but pitching is where they fail. Of course, they go to Coors Field, and they close out with 7 games at home against San Diego and Pittsburgh, and I think they could have a really positive week this week. 19th, we have the Cleveland Guardians, and they free fell as well. Since they held that share of the lead in the AL Central, they're 5-14 and really are struggling now. Are they going to be buyers or sell at the deadline? This is a team to watch for sure that could get rid of a few guys and go from there. But Shane Bieber, he's having a good bounce back year currently, and the bullpen has been holding this team down from really closing out and winning games. Clase has been good out of the pen, but after that, it's kind of been a toss-up to see what you're going to get. But they have 8 games as well this week, all at home against the White Sox and the Tigers. Speaking of those White Sox, we have them dropping as well to 18th. It's more and more likely that La Russa will either finish the year, or if they struggle before that August 2nd trade deadline, he probably will get canned. So we're going to have to see how that's going to go. August 2nd is probably going to be the deal breaker for him. But they are getting Yasmani Grandal back this week, but we just don't know when. It's almost 99% chance. And they're 5 games back from Minnesota and AL Central. So don't take that into account that this team, is out of it already, being, 2 games under 500. But I think it's just been tough because they haven't got over that 500 mark since May 22nd when they were 21-20, and that's 40 games ago. So it's once they can eclipse that mark, I think this team could get hot at the right time and possibly even steal the AL Central down the road. 17th, we have the Marlins earning their highest ranking and tying it as well. They're 8-3 in their last 11 without Jazz Chisholm, but hopefully he can be activated this week as long as Jorge Soler too. Garrett Cooper, he's been putting up a pretty solid season. Not many people know about his name, and I think he deserves some credit for making this Marlins team a little bit better. Obviously, Sandy Alcantara, 1.73 ERA, 111 Ks, and 130 pitch. He's an absolute workhorse, super uncommon in today's MLB, and he's just been, what every starting pitcher wants to be. And they close it out this week with 7 home games. 16th, making a huge jump, and I didn't think we would be saying it, that this Orioles team is on an 8-game winning streak after a 4-game losing streak. So they're right back on pace here to get over 500. They are still last place in the AL East because of the Yankees, of course, at 18.5 back, which is crazy that they're almost 500 and that far back. But they're, a team that it's looking more and more like that they won't be buyers or sellers. They'll just roll with what they got and see how it plays out at the end of the year and go from there. But they have 5 games this week, 2 in Chicago and then 3 in Tampa. And I think, they're going to keep that win streak going, at least make it 9-10 possibly against those Cubs. Giants staying at 15. They've been struggling a little bit, 3-8 in their last 11. I moved them up a lot. They were in the top 10 2 weeks ago, and they're already back to the middle of the pack. They just went from 3 games back to 12 and a half back in 3 weeks in the NL West, and it's just been a struggle for them. But Carlos Rendon, he's been really good. He had his complete game gem on Saturday, 1 earned run, 12 Ks, 2 walks. And they have 7 games this week, 3 against the Cardinals, or 3 against the Diamondbacks, and 4 against a really good Brewers team. Blue Jays dropping out of the top 10 all the way down to 14th. They're 1-9 in their last 10, and so, you can read that right there. 27 runs in 10 total games. That's kind of how you get there. Averaging 2.7 runs a game in their last 10. Not going to get it done a lot, especially in today's MLB. But they do have favorable matchup to close it out before the All-Star break against those Royals. 13th, we have the Cardinals. Ho-hum, they're just here, kind of breezing by with their easy division. But they do have a tough series in between here. They got the Dodgers at home, so that'll be a good series. Gut check before the All-Star break for sure. And are these guys going to be back for the All-Star break? Yachty, Tyler O'Neill, Harrison Bader. Some big pieces that they need back for sure. 12th, we have the Tampa Bay Rays dropping 1. They're 5-8 in the last 13, so I felt like they had to fall back a little bit here. Shane McClanahan, probably a lock for the AL Cy Young right now, is if he doesn't get hurt. Wander, he's out 5 to 8 weeks. That's a huge loss for them. Kiermaier as well, he's out for a little bit on the IL. But they have been slowly slipping to 500 after their really good start, and they're now, I believe, they're third in the division, third in the division. And just like that, it could be fourth, could be even fifth, depending on how these Orioles do. 11th, we have the highest jumps of the week, moving up 6 spot. So we have the Seattle Mariners riding that 8-game winning streak, 16-3 in their last 19. For the division, could they be out of it already? Possibly, with 12 games back to Houston. But that wild card berth is looking more likely, and it's just going to stay. We've seen these Mariners, beginning of the year, they were hot. We got them up at 9th. Then they fell all the way back down to 23rd. And here they are rising again, back up to 11th. So this is a very streaky team. And they're without Kyle Lewis and Mitch Haniger. And when they go get those guys back, they're just going to level up again and possibly, ride this win streak some more. They have very easy competition as well this week. So don't expect them to, go off the hinges here and just lose it and fall apart. Starting off the top 10, we have the Padres dropping 4 spots. Jurickson Profar out for a while. Not sure. He's on the 7-day concussion list. Could be a lot worse, but we're just gonna have to see day to day. They're 5-11 in their last 16, and this team is just praying that nothing else happens before the All-Star break because they're just limping in there. They definitely need a break, as this is one of the teams that looks like they've been tired playing a few games here. But some good news for this team is that they do play the teams below them in the division, their own division. So they could get some wins there, some quality wins there. And Tatis, hopefully he can be back after the All-Star break. He's seeing the doctor this week to see if they can, fully ramp him, no limitations, and then we'll go from there. Cracking the top 10, we got the Phillies jumping to 9, and that's due to in part that they're 25-11 in their last 36. We know Harper's been on the IL with a broken thumb. His mid-August return seems more and more likely now. And Kyle Schwarber's really been picking up the pace for him. He hit 5 home runs, 6 RBIs just last week. That's a lot more than a lot of these guys have been hitting. They have 6 games this week, and 1 in St. Louis, 2 in Toronto, and 3 in Miami. Sorry, it's a little confusing there. The Phillies, could they, go into the All-Star break with 10 games above 500? I really think it's possible here if they keep playing some really good baseball. 8th, we have the Twins jumping up a little bit, just due to in part some teams, not doing their best here. Luis Ariz, he's been hitting 348, 420 on base finish, coming out of nowhere. It's not sexy, but he's getting the job done, and I think he needs to get recognized. He got the All-Star game nod as a reserve, which is great. Byron Buxton as well with 23 home runs, 42 RBIs. Finally healthy for the whole year, and he's been playing really well. So he finally got his first All-Star appearance. Joe Ryan, he's been pitching as well. And they're getting a bigger lead in the AL Centrals with 4.5-game lead over Cleveland due to them free falling, and the Twins just playing another game. But they have 6 tough games this week, 2 against Milwaukee and 4 against the White Sox. 7th, we have the Red Sox moving up 1, and a lot of anticipation this week and upcoming weeks for sure, with Chris Sale debuting tomorrow against Tampa. James Paxton, Nathan Eovaldi, and Matt Barnes. Hopefully, they're all coming back at the All-Star break. Some rotation arms and a good back end guy in the bullpen is exactly what the Red Sox need to, get them a better chance in the AL Central and a wild card berth as well. And I really had them dropping out of the top 10 here until they had those comeback wins against the Yankees, and it just happened that they did enough to even move up a spot, but they're still 14 games back in the AL East for the Yankees. I don't see them catching them anytime soon unless the Yankees absolutely just lose everything. But they have 7 games this week on the road, all against great divisional opponents. So the Red Sox are definitely gonna have a tough week. At 6, we got the Brewers moving up one as well. They have a 2.5 game lead on the Cardinals in the AL Central, but they did go 1-4 last week against Pittsburgh and Chicago. So it's kind of a little bit of a concern there for being, the 6th-ranked team and moving up. But injury-wise, Hunter Renfroe, hopefully he's back this weekend before the All-Star break. If not, I'm sure he'll be back more than ready first game after the All-Star. Freddie Peralta, he's expected back after the All-Star break. But the biggest question for this team is hitting. It's not even out there. Everybody knows. Is the team going to stay consistent hitting? We've seen it in playoffs year after year. They can't hit. The rotation's good enough to get them there and get them some wins. But if they don't score, 3 runs, it's pretty much over for the Brewers because they can't hang some of those really good teams. Starting our top 5, we have the Mets moving down a spot. And it's because of those Braves who are, going to be in the top 4 here. You haven't seen them. And the Braves are surging, that's for sure, as the Mets are still coasting, going off of everything. They don't have DeGrom. They don't have Tyler Magle. But they should be back soon, hopefully very soon after the All-Star break. But Pete Alonso and Starling Marte have been the guys that have been holding down the fort, being consistent and getting their job done. Even Jeff McNeil, you could throw him in there as well. And I think, some anticipation for the home run derby and whatnot. Is Pete Alonso going to win it for the 3rd time? Hopefully. We're going to have to see. They have, some tough road games before their season comes to a halt here before the All-Star break. 4th, we have those Atlanta Braves. They're 29-8 in their last 37, and that's why they are earning their highest ranking here at 4. Max Fried and Kyle Wright, they have an ERA of combined under 2.75. Dansby Swanson hitting over 300, absolutely mashing. And the Braves just got Robinson Cano for cash. Always, cash is a great thing, but sometimes is it going to hurt him? Maybe this is just an infield depth move to get him, until Ozzie Albies is back, and then we'll see from there. But he is starting tonight, playing right away. But they have 7 games this week, 3 and some Mets what are on right now, which I was watching before I started making this video. And then they have 4 on the road to close it out in Washington. 3rd, we have the Astros dropping a spot. They're 19-5 in the last 24. And you're like, why are you dropping them? Well, you'll see why. The Dodgers and the Yankees are at 2-1. Jordan, he's been going off 306 average, 26 home runs, 60 RBIs. He's probably the MVP front runner if Aaron Judge isn't having his season. But JV's having another Cy Young year, and then he closed it out with 6 easy games in their division. 2, we have the Dodgers, and they're on a 7-game win streak. That's why I moved them up here. They've won 11 of their last 12. They have an 8-game lead on the Padres, top 3 team in every stat category. Gavin Lux is going off in a career year, but they do have 3 on the road against St. Louis, which will be a good test for them before they go into LA and close it out with their, crosstown rival. And 1, we got the New York Yankees. Their 8th time being here. It explains themselves. 28-10 in their last 38. Aaron Judge absolutely having his best year of his career, on pace for over 60 home runs. Team ERA of just a little bit over 3, 3rd best in MLB. And I think they will add, Benintendi is a very good name linked to the Yankees. Maybe a catcher as well if they really get desperate. But Jonathan Lozania and Domingo Germain, hopefully they're back at the All-Star game. Get a rotation and a back-end guy in their bullpen just to make this team even better than it is now. They have a very favorable early week matchup against the Reds at home. And then, of course, the big rivalry at Boston before we head to the All-Star break. But that's going to be it for the video today. If you liked it, hit that like button down below. Comment what you guys think of the rankings. But until the next time, the Bench Buddies are out.